It is officially December, and you know what that means. It's finally time to detail some of my favorite games of 2021. And by God, this year I want to get this list done before the end of the year is actually up. So, hope you enjoy listening to me rant about games, because we're going to be starting my top 10 list with today's video, looking at, well, my number 10 game of 2021. So you've seen the title and thumbnail for this video. You can probably tell what my number 10 game is. And that is Prodigal. And I am technically breaking the rules, but I am a renegade maverick, and I'm willing to break my own rules for my list this year. And I guess to kind of be somewhat fair, Prodigal did receive numerous updates and content over the course of its release in 2020 to where it's at now. I believe they've officially wrapped up content-wise. And the additional content that was added to the game is essentially enough to, well, be like Prodigal 2. Or at least that's how I spin it. So, for those of you who are new, when I kind of rate games for my Game of the Year list, I value two things: the competency of the design and the uniqueness of it. So, competent game would be one that there's no issues with it, everything works from a UI UX perspective. It may not be the most unique game, but it's one that there's just nothing really wrong with it. While uniqueness, of course, would be a game that does something that I've never seen before, it does something in a highly imaginative and original way. And with Prodigal, it is definitely an example on the competent side. It is a Zelda Link's Awakening, or just a Zelda-ish kind of action-adventure, and the game itself is built on you, well, exploring this world, communicating with the various people. You've seen my review, so I won't go into too much detail about it here. But what the game does really well, besides having some great pixel art and music, is that, again, it's one of those games that you can tell that the designers really put thought into the gameplay. Every puzzle has an interesting twist to it, and despite only being about 3 key active items, they get a lot of mileage out of what we would normally consider to be very simple gameplay elements. And the additional content fleshes out more of the story, and the game does get quite difficult. We did the 4 Pillars challenge on stream a few days ago, or at least at some point in the past, depending upon when you watch this video. And similar to what I always like to see from like Nintendo games, is that there's a very wide margin of how you can play Prodigal. If you want to go through the normal base game of it, it's maybe an hour and a half at most, maybe a little bit more than that if you are playing it for the first time. And all this just adds up to a lot of content that's in this game. Now, what keeps it from scoring higher on my list is, well, 2 very simple points. One, as we said, it came out officially in 2020, so it won't make sense to give my number 1 game of 2021 to a game that came out in 2020. And again, Prodigal is a game that it doesn't really do anything that I would say is unique or different for the genre. But what it is just a very well-made version of it. And there are several games on my list this year that fall into that category. But with this top 10 list, I'm keeping these videos definitely on the shorter side. And that's why I'm going to be kind of rapid fire going through them editing-wise. So that's all I really have to say about Prodigal. Again, you'll find links to the review and the 4 Pillars run in the description down below that will go into a lot more detail about the game. But that will do it for my number 10. So tune in for the next video where I'll be taking a look at my number 9 game. And I'll let you guys theory craft until then. As always, check out our Discord and Patreon link down below, and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, whereas in the art and science of games, and I will see you for the next piece.